One of the things I want to talk about today and generate a little bit of discussion on is something that I hear constantly all the time for many different reasons, and that is how we value ourselves as practitioners, particularly when it comes to money. There's two ways that we value ourselves. We value our experience, and I mean hands-on experience, how many patients we've treated, how many relationships we've formed, the outcomes that we discover. Outside of that, we also value ourselves with time, how many years out in practice we are. So you'll hear a graduate saying, I'm 2 years out in practice, or another professional suggesting I'm 10 years out in practice. And with that definitely comes a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I'm not trying to shy away from that. But in those early years, as a really thriving, learning, sponge-like practitioner, the amount of time we spend with our hands on a patient is invaluable. So one way I want to talk about that is some of the things that I look at all the time, particularly when you're transitioning somebody from a contractor model across to an employment model. One of the ways that we value ourselves is through the Allied Health Professionals Award. Usually we can say something similar along the lines of, I've been out for 7 years in practice, therefore I must sit at a level 2 pay point 7, for example. But what we forget to realise is that even the Allied Health Professionals Award still accounts for experience on the job and the amount of hours we've spent doing that job. And in actual fact, that comes down to 1,824 hours. For the most part, this is somebody working a 38-hour week over 48 weeks of the year. Okay? The equivalent, for example, of somebody still making 1,824 hours is somebody who potentially might be part-time on 18 hours a week is going to take them 2 years approximately to reach the equivalent amount of hours spent on their hands. I'm going to take that a step further and give you a couple of examples from two practitioners in the early stages of their career, and how important it is to value ourselves by the amount of time we've spent actually with our hands on a patient. I'm not suggesting there's a lot more to do with our job, but I'm talking about a value, and this is really important. Let's call this Practitioner 1. Practitioner 1 works off a contractor model. For the most part, they've got a lot of autonomy. They come in, they have been out for 5 years, and they generally do about 25 patients a week. They're not totally full-time at work, so they're quite comfortable with that figure and the amount of patients that they're seeing. And they do that about 42 weeks of the year. They like to go away, spend time with their family. Work-life balance to them is really, really important. But ultimately, over that same time period, if we work it out, and I have previously calculated this before, but I'm still pretty good with figures, you're looking at about 5,250 patients in total hands-on experience. Let's have a look now at Practitioner 2. They've been out for 3 years in practice. They're at a very, very busy clinic, but they're also really proactive. They thrive off being busy, and that's not to say that there's any right or wrong between the two, but they really love the hands-on side of things, and they're seeing about 50 patients a week. They're trying to save for a house, they're really invested, and I guess they are motivated by money somewhat, I suppose. They are working 48 hours of the week, taking their 4 weeks annual leave each year. After 3 years in practice with these same calculations, this practitioner has now seen 6,900 patients, just shy of 7,000 patients in 3 years. So we can actually think about it in two different ways. This practitioner here, and again, I'm not underestimating value for time, for example. Time is really important in this instance. This practitioner has been out for 5 years. They've been able to shadow and mirror some pretty exceptional mentors. They've been able to learn from specific outcomes by watching other people. But for the most part, interactions and mentors only really comes up with so much value. This person here, on the other hand, 70% of evidence suggests that we learn most from practical hands-on experience. So for the most part, when you're actually looking at it and you're doing the math, this person here, 3 years out in practice, has actually seen a total of 1,600 and 50 more patients than Practitioner 1 through the life of their career. So, equal to that, when you're talking about the value of hands-on experience, Practitioner 2, 3 years out experience, has had more patients to interact with, more cases to get results from, more outcomes to be able to analyse, feed off, discuss with other people. They've also gained more practical feedback by having more patients. They've also probably experienced more opportunities to be able to polish techniques and develop their practical skills. They've probably built more relationships over this time with patients, genuine connections with patients that have also helped probably more patients aspire to quality of life and, I guess, developing what their initial intention is in coming to see an allied health professional. So the reason why I wanted to highlight this is mainly because I just want to point out that years in practice does not equal experience. Too often we correlate one to the other. I've been out in 7 years practice, and so therefore I am more experienced than somebody 4 years in practice. I just want you to ponder that and create a little bit of discussion around it, because what I want people to do is actually value their worth, not just because another calendar year has ticked over, but because of what they're investing into their patients' lives, and actually just think about where your value as a practitioner comes from. Is it our value in hands-on contact, or is it just simply time spent in the profession? What do you guys think? So, if I haven't challenged you to start thinking a little bit differently about this, here's a bonus extra and a different example for you to ponder. Based off my friend, dive instructor, hence the parachute. I'm not an artist, I'm an osteopath. Instructor 1, been diving for 5 years, 100 jumps a year, 500 in total. You've got instructor 2, really keen to get out there, build up their experience, learn from as many dives as they can. 380 dives over 2 years, 760 dives in total in their career, which is just 2 years. My question to you, who would you rather jump out of a plane with? Does time equal experience?